Hello and back to another Fast here on my channel where I'm Jacob from Jacob's Books Corner, where I am here to talk about my wrap up for August. August was an interesting month. I read a total of 9 books in the month of August, which is by far one of my lowest months I've had in such a long time. My lowest month this year has definitely been my 4 books I read, and yeah. Now, this was because of several different reasons. One, I didn't get to work on as many things here at around the house because of cat sitting, and also the cat got hurt in the middle of the month, and so I have been, since my sister left, like, it was like a week and like 3 days ago, I've not been reading at all, except for when I was at work. So yeah, I've not really gotten a lot read this month, and there's many different things you can even square that on, but I do feel very proud this month. Oh my gosh, we also have this one, which I'll throw in there because I did technically read it all, but I don't know what I'll put underneath the actual thing for it in Goodreads. Alright, we'll start with it because like I'm making a whole video about it, and that's Broken Boys. I have a video on my channel where I was dropping part 1 of book 2, part 1 of draft 2, and this is the part 1. That's why it says part 1. It's the first part, and I wrote it a long time ago. Not a long time ago. I finished it in February, and it took me a very long time to finish write the 74,000 words, and I still am currently working on the project. Like I said, I'll mention again in the book writing video and a few other videos that cat sitting takes up a lot of time, and I can't really read very much. But I did go through this whole thing. I read every word, every chapter, and so I do count it because I read it several times, you know, and so yeah. That's one of those books. I don't really want to describe what it's about. If you guys are curious, I have several videos on my channel talking about my own personal writing, and there you go, and you can go through those videos. Alright, let's start with the actual first book, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in my wrap-up of last month. We'll mention it again here, because I did finish it technically on the 1st of August, and that is with The Fire on High by Elizabeth Salcedo. This follows a single mom when she is in high school, and she is like 17, no, she's a senior in high school, and she wants to be a famous cook. And she goes on this trip, and it's such a fun ride. Obviously, it has a lot of heart and personality, and the family dynamics are such amazing as every Elizabeth Salcedo. The writing here is extremely strong, especially because it is written in chapter form and not in verse, which I find to be very interesting. If I had to pick what I want the next one to be, because I already read Clock When You Land, I read it last month. For next Elizabeth Salcedo, I'd say, to be honest with you, I kind of want to mix between this and, like, The Poet X and Clock When You Land. I think The Poet X was a very grounded, and it covered so many different areas and stuff, and I think it covered it very well and very equally. Whereas this focused on one specific thing, and I think it did it very nicely. I think Clock When You Land tried to do too many things, which is why I think it came short a little bit for me personally as a novel. But I know it resonated with a lot of people, and I'm so happy. Elizabeth Salcedo is an author to look out for. She is a phenomenal author. Her Twitter is amazing, and I just absolutely love everything that is about this novel. I'll be picking up her 4th novel, but I would love a book that's written both in verse and in chapter. I think she could do that flawlessly and beautifully, and something that's mixing all these elements together that she's so passionate about. You can tell by the writing she's passionate about it, but making it much more organic and not so somewhat forced in certain areas. I know I didn't really talk about the book itself very much. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I read it a long time ago. August 1st doesn't seem like it was that long, but this month felt like years. So, yeah, no, I couldn't tell you why I gave it a 4. And that's it. And then I'm going to pop up a few books on the screen over here, as I normally do, you know how it goes. So I decided to binge read a series, and you follow me on Twitter, you would know this. And so I read the Mortal Instruments, book 1, which I'm going to very briefly talk about the Mortal Instruments, what it's about, the first one, going forward. I'm just going to tell you my start ratings and stuff. So, yeah. The first Mortal Instruments is Clary when she gets brought into the world of Shadowhunters, and she learns that she is a Shadowhunter, and that they fight demons, and her mom gets kidnapped, and, you know, she meets a guy that she really likes, but is she allowed to like him? You know, all these questions and stuff. There's vampires, there's werewolves, there's Magnus Bane. All the important things you need for a perfect Shadowhunter book is there. It just was not my favorite. On the reread, though, I did enjoy it more, and this is my third time reading, trying to read the entire Mortal Instruments series, and I just never really pushed myself before. I'm sorry, I just hate my hair right now. And so I can say 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know if this is an upgrade or a downgrade. City of Ashes, I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is not true. That's an old grade. It's just a 4 out of 5 stars. City of Glass, which I have right here, which is a biggie, thicky book. I did not remember liking very much, fun facts. And so then when I reread it, which I was really excited to read this because I remember certain aspects of this book so clearly, that I actually ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It's still by far one of my least favorite, and honestly, if I want to be very clear with you, I'm very excited for Lost Souls and Heavenly Fire because I'm really hoping they're more grounded because they're longer and there's more room to play around. But I'd say these are by far, this is by far the weakest series. We'll talk about my favorite series here in a minute. But these are by far my weakest opponent. I took a little bit of a break from those, and I read Fallen for a new series that will be popping up on my channel. It should be popping up next week, and that is where I reread old favorites. I have a whole stack, you guys, actually, no, it's not a stack right there, of old favorite books that I read when I was in high school to middle school that I've heard are very problematic, or have problematic themes in it, or that I could deem problematic, and I wanted to know if they're actual trash, or, you know, if I really do love them or not. And so, let's talk about Fallen by Lauren Kate. This is by far one of my favorite novels when I read it as a child. I read it when I was extremely depressed in my sophomore year of high school, and it was exactly the type of escapism that I truly needed in an environment that I did not know I wanted. This follows Luce and Daniel as their epic love story is told over decades and actually millenniums of time, and you get to unravel the mystery of it. I would say this is very heavily in the religion aspects in my review, which will be my reread, will be full-on spoilers. Yeah, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars on this reaction of this book, which is my 13th or 14th rereading, and it's by far gets worse and worse every time, and I do not plan on picking it up again, and I don't want to ruin those precious moments. I still have favorite scenes, even though I do deem it problematic in places. And that's Fallen. Then we move on to a book that I personally did review, and there is a review on Goodreads. It's not a long review, but it's a review, and that is All the Boys Are Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a memoir manifesto because it's him telling his story, his true life, but also trying to inspire and let you know that you are not alone by talking about greater and bigger things that are surrounded by these different plot points in his life. This covers so many different trigger warnings that you should totally look it up. I did not. He does tell you, if I'm not mistaken, actually I think it's pretty much stated in the beginning of this book. Isn't it in the author's note? Maybe it's only on the audiobook, which I highly recommend. He has such a smoothing voice. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see here. Yes. It is a part of the author's note before you actually jump into the story. So just know that they are there and things. And yeah, explicit words are said, graphic sexual scenes are explicit, such as sexual assault and others. And so it's just something, child abuse, just something to look into. I personally found this book to be one of the hardest books I've read this year. It's one of the books I truly cried to. His story is very powerful, but it also resonated with me as a queer teen. I'm not a black queer teen, and so there's parts of this I don't understand, I did not live through, I did not relate to, but there's also a lot of this, him growing up as a queer gay child. I understood so much, and I felt on so many levels, so many first experiences, I felt so many firsts that I didn't understand. I felt this is a truly phenomenal book that I think everybody I don't even want to put this like in a demographic. Everybody should read it, everybody should love it, and I think it's really hard to read, but it's by far one of my favorite books of the year, and it will go down in history as one of my favorite books of all time, just because when something resonates with me so much that I just have to care for it, it gets put there. I don't have a list. Those have no numbers, you know, and I've been trying, that's my opinion, this is a perfect 5 out of 5 stars. And I've been trying to figure out if I do have a list of like my top favorite books of all time, because I'm sure that's a video you guys would be interested. Let me know in the comments down below. But honestly, I don't want to subjugate myself into putting them in an order. So if I do have an all-time favorite list, they're just going to be a set of books that I believe are my all-time favorites in no particular order. Because for a long time, if you asked me what is my all-time favorite book of all, and I would have pointed you to Winger, which is sitting in the pile. But I know from previous rereads, it's not my favorite because there are certain things in there that are a little interesting. But it's still one of my favorite, it's not like my all-time, but it's still on my all-time favorite list. It's an interesting life, I tell you. Then we're going to move on to good old Anna Kendrick. I read this because I watched Love Life. That's the only reason. This is my it's my seventh reread of Scrappy Little Things. I've been reading Scrappy Little Things. I've been reading this since it came out. The day it came out, I read it that day, and I read it that whole weekend, and I read it again 2 weekends later, and then it just played in my head for like a hot minute. It's weird. Anna Kendrick herself, this is a memoir as well, so it tells her story, her growing up, which I know so well because I've read it so many times. But this is one of those few audiobooks that it truly doesn't feel like, okay, like this felt like an amazing essay that you didn't want it to end. This felt like a conversation that was one-sided because, it's an audiobook, but it also felt like a perfect conversation where it's just so genuine and so natural that I go back to it every time. Also, it's weird, Anna Kendrick has this thing that she has about her aura that just draws me in, and then I'll rewatch the same exact thing she's a part of for like 2 months straight, like over and over again, like on repeat, and I've never found an actress that could do that. So good for her. I love this book. It's a 5 out of 5 stars. It is a perfect read, for my opinion. If you love Anna Kendrick as much as I do, I highly recommend you pick up the audiobook. The physical book, which I do reread, I do read sometimes, and I will get a copy. I'm just keep looking out, I keep looking for a signed copy, because that would be amazing. So if anybody knows any great places to look, let me know in the comments down below. That would be phenomenal. So I could own it. Alright, I think the next books I actually do have a copy of, so that's pretty cool. So there's only 2 books in this video that I have to put up on the screen. How exciting. I will be talking about something as well. It's over there. I meant to grab it. Alright, then I read The Infernal Devices Clockwork Angel, which is book 1. So let's go down the Mortal Instruments train. First things first, I'll be reviewing the first 3 Mortal Instruments in a separate video coming later on this month. There is a shit ton of reviews coming this month. Don't come at me. I'm just reading a lot of things, and I think all of them should have a video about them. And that's just my opinion, and you guys want to see them, and you voted on them. Follow me on Instagram. Okay, now that that's over with, Emma Books, who is a gracious person and who loves Shadowhunters more than anybody I ever met in my whole entire existence, has made a video saying chronologically is the best way to go because you get no spoilers. So I went from City of Glass. Was it Glass? Are you Glass? Yeah, City of Glass to Clockwork Angel, which I have to say the maturity and the writing between these two are phenomenal. Cassie Clare definitely leveled up with this book, whereas I don't think even in a normal City Phones book she doesn't level there. By the way, I read this in one day. It was beautiful. It's everything that's set back in Victorian area. Follows Tessa as she learns she is a shapeshifter and she is hunting for her brother Nate. And there's also Will, who is beautiful. And yeah, that's all I can tell you about this. I mean, there's other things that I could tell you that are not spoileristic, but yeah, this is also by far one of the best books in the Shadowhunter series that I read so far because it is a singular story. I mean, they're sequels and they're amazing so far as I read them, but it's not so disjointed, whereas most of the books feel that way. So I highly recommend you at least read the first one because it's pure gold. This was a 5-star? Was this a 5-star? It should be since I said it was pure gold, right? Let's see here. I gave it a 4-star. I would say I'm gonna rank it up to a 5. You know, this is a 5-star. I'm sure I had a reason for my 4-star, but you know what? We gave it a 5. And then I read City of Fallen Angels, which is book 5, or book 4 in the Mortal Instruments. Now, if you guys don't know, City of Glass was actually a part of the first trilogy, which is the first 3 books I'm reviewing. This begins the second trilogy, which is City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. Yeah. And, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm still not sure if I totally agree with that answer, though, because I think it's more like a 3.5. I just don't really like the Mortal Instrument run, and I heard they get amazing towards the end, so I'm really excited for some major cliffhangers, major plot twists and stuff coming in with these next big books. But like, I'm really excited to get to the Dark Artifice. I'm really excited to read more from Clockwork Princess. Even though I'm not really enjoying Clockwork Prince, it's not my favorite so far. But either. But yeah, I'm gonna say 4, maybe a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then I read the problematic book that I've read so many times. You guys can sue me. And that is After by Anna Todd. Now, I read this because the movie's coming out in certain countries. It's coming out on Wednesday. And yes, I'm jealous. But the sequel is coming out in October 2nd for us personally. And I'm so fucking excited that I was like, I'll reread it. And so I reread After. And it is a 4 out of 5 stars, and judge me later. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. It's a movie. Go watch the movie. That's my wrap up. If you guys enjoyed this weird-ass video, please maybe a thumbs up, don't comment down below, hit subscribe, and I'll see you all next time for another people video. I know I've not been really posting, but like I said, the cat got hurt, my life got a little disjointed, and now we're here, so I'm going to try to get these 3 videos up and edited tonight, so they can go up and present for you guys. This week, we should also have a weekly vlog coming out on Sunday. At least I'm going to try to vlog this week. It's a little weird, so we're going to try our hardest, fingers crossed, to have a weekly vlog out for you. But starting, not next week, but the week after, we should be back to normal, fresh. And also, I'm planning on writing a whole bunch and reading a whole bunch, so that's gonna be like what my that whole week that I'm off is gonna be about. I'm really, really excited about it. I'm really excited to get back into routines, but right now, the cat is the most important part, and so bear with me over these next few days, next few weeks, as I still grasp with that.